Hey, it's Andre. It's time for the Flying Friday update. Got a motor upgrade. What a plane! What a plane! Yep, that's right. The 3D printed Spitfire is going from a 2830-11,000 kV motor to a 2836-8, 1100 kV motor. So very similar motor. Actually, my dad uses this one in all of his FT, Spitfire and Mustangs and that. And very similar specs to the Emax motor, but this one will allow me to run the nice spinner. And I do have a pretty neat carbon fiber prop I've been wanting to try. The Emax ones, the shaft doesn't flip, so it's designed for the FT kits, which is fantastic, and I will use one eventually. But for this airplane, the application goes. And speaking of the 3D printed Spitfire, I had a special request for this one to come along with me along the journey to Flight Fest East. So it is almost ready, and I'll have that motor installed and everything reset up and programmed and ready to fly. Still sticking with the 3S setup because obviously that motor is spec for a good, it'll do 9x6 prop on a 3S battery really nicely, and just give us a little extra power compared to the 1000 kV motor. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun to fly it there, and maybe I'll throw some lights into it or something. Who knows? Speaking of requests, the DLG plane is going to come with me. This is my Mountain Hobby DL50, and a couple of the DLG guys were like, you got to bring one, so just a toss and go while you're there. And I said, all right, I can take the wing off. It's relatively easy to store, and transport with, just have to be careful about the tail. The only other plane that I was considering, but it has not made the cut, is my little micro Sky Hunter. It is now ready to go. It's set up on a 3S set. I was going to do like an ultralight. I can get it right down to below 250 grams on a 2S setup. So that is pretty cool. But I'm going to put a FPV kit onto this thing and eventually just go. But right now, 1704, 12 amp ESC. It is pretty light, pretty nimble. But ultimately, I decided not to bring it with me just because I had to make a decision on what not to bring, because I don't want to bring every single airplane, because we know the nature of my responsibilities. Well, I'm at Flight Fest, I'm a little bit busy. So what I do have, obviously, is the Radiant. Of course, that's coming. The Sea Duck is coming because it needs its revenge on Fury Fields, because last year the Tyrannus failed and it never flew. So I've got a bunch of batteries ready for that airplane, and that thing is going to be like pure air superiority. I do have a FT Stem Alpha, and it's kind of like my backup plane. And of course, night flying is huge at Flight Fest if you've been there. So took some LED lights, some strips, and I shoved them into my good old faithful Arrow, and that will fly nicely at night. Just a 3S setup. 2 strips of green, 2 strips of white, and I think red and 3 whites in there. So it's, I think it's pretty well lit up enough that I'll be able to keep up with it. And I'm also very seriously considering bringing the HK Night Walrus. I actually stuck 2 extra rows of white LEDs into the nose. I just need to pull the balance tab harness thing and hook them back up. And that plane will light up a bit. I did crash that one last year at Flight Fest because I got a little too disoriented. It was a little late. I was tired. So I think this year if I go, I'll be a little more gentle about my flying and keep it up a little higher and just work away with it. I'll probably also fly it on my better A-spec batteries versus the lower zippy compacts for a little bit more punch. So basically the nature of the weekend will be me getting ready to go and packing all my gear, making those final decisions and putting everything in the bins and setting everything up. It is actually quite wet and soggy this weekend, so I guess I can build and just enjoy the time with the family and everything. 200 plus volunteers for Flight Fest East. That's crazy. And like middle of next week I take off, and that'll be Flight Fest number 2 for me this year. We had West Coast in January, February, which was pretty amazing out in California, San Francisco area, and obviously Ohio, which is like my second home now. I'm really looking forward to this year. Tons of support, tons of awesome people coming out to help. And if you ever have a chance to make it out to a Flight Fest, this is the one to check out. Ohio is just off the hook fun. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. If you get out flying, you're a lucky one this weekend. Thanks. Bye.
Cool.